And we begin with breaking news coming in on the Mudgal report from the top court. The latest news coming in from the Supreme Court is that Harish Salve, the petitioner's lawyer, has asked the apex court to make the full Mudgal report public. Salve said since the conflict of interest is so large, the BCCI has disabled itself from taking action. They also made arguments against Mayappan as well as Srinivasan to establish conflict and the alleged cover-up. Salve argued that keeping the report under wraps will not serve any purpose. The speculation is high and better to know what's in it, but the BCCI said it should not be made public. All right, I have Boria Mazumdar joining me live from the newsroom. Boria, what do you make of the developments in the Supreme Court today? Well, there is still a lot of voices within court who want that entire report to be made public.
It was expected that Harish Salve would be making these arguments, especially keeping in mind that number 2 and number 3, if they can establish a linkage with Srinivasan, then they can establish cover-up. So I'm not surprised at all that, these arguments have been made in court. It now depends on what the Supreme Court decides come Thursday, 2 p.m. But these are arguments along expected lines. What is interesting for me is what Harish Salve says, that the BCCI has seized, the conflict is so large that it cannot take action. It has sort of, given up its right for propriety. These are important arguments being made by the petitioner's lawyers. Will the Supreme Court buy this? Will the Supreme Court take notice of what has been argued today? We don't know. So it will be difficult to speculate or conjecture, Vedika. But the fact of the matter is these are serious arguments being made. One, the report should be made public, because if it is, then the players' names gets disclosed. If the players' names come out in the open, then number 2, number 3, who they are, will obviously, and if there is a chain of command linking them to Srinivasan, it will put him in further trouble. So all of these things, these are very, very serious and important matters being argued in court.
But a very serious comments also coming in from the Petitioners' Council, where Salve goes on to say that BCCI acts as a quasi-government and has set its own standard of discipline.
Correct. I mean, the fact that the BCCI for the last 1.5 years has not done anything practically forces you to say that, it's kind of a quasi-government, because it's upon the Supreme Court of India to say what it did yesterday, isn't it? I mean, it's the Supreme Court that issued all of those observations against BCCI and Srinivasan.
Yes.
Even the working committee said everybody is clean, everybody is hunky-dory, everything's good. Sundar Raman will back him, Rajasthan Royals, Chennai Super Kings will back them, Srinivasan should be reinstated. So it's basically a cozy club which functions as a quasi-government. That's what the petitioner's lawyers is trying to argue in court. Again, will the Supreme Court buy it, Vedika? We don't know.
All right, all eyes will be on the Supreme Court and the proceedings that are taking place. Boria, I'll keep coming back to you for more. Thanks for joining us with that perspective on the developments from inside Supreme Court.